All right, so it is 6 o'clock, so I will call the meeting to order. Open session public meetings are subject to being recorded. Your image and voice will be recorded. Okay, so the first thing we have is minutes approval from the last meeting.
Yep. So should I go through them, or did you guys see them?
Just
I think it's, I think we're
all
fine
in
for a
favor.
motion.
Okay.
Yeah. All in favor, I can say aye.
Aye.
See?
Okay.
There.
Yep, there we
We'll
go.
make this go faster even.
And you can't update on the consortium, but you can update us on what's going on with the consortium, right?
With CMRPC?
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, so I guess I ended up talking to a few people about the website situation. Yeah, so like I was like looking through the like trust page, yeah, I was like kind of gathering some like resources that we can add in and things along that line. But I do need, I guess, someone to contact for like the website or who does the website.
Okay.
So that maybe I can like share like a doc and then go back and forth with that. And then I guess since as far as I know, the housing production plan's approved, right? Or are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
The select board approved it.
Okay, the select board
Okay, so
approved it,
it's-
so we're
Through
just
the last
waiting
step,
on.
right?
So then it gets
To the state. Yeah.
And then what?
And then after the
Couple
state,
months.
yeah, the state. It usually they say it takes like a month or so, and
So
then
it's not bad.
yeah, once the state approves that, I can start on a story map situation where we can end up getting some public outreach in and like getting some residents in, and I think Berlin would be kind of, I guess, my starter town because you guys are way ahead of the 5 towns. So that's what I was more so thinking in terms of that. And then with the CPA funds, I mean, I'm hearing
Yeah.
what to do in this meeting, and that's what I have so far with everything. And then we've done our, sorry?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, we've done our check-in, so I'm going to be doing a monthly check-in with the 5 towns, and if you all like to be included, please let me know. I'm just
Yeah.
like going over dates and everything, but that's basically it from me.
Yeah, so the check-in was Monday. All the towns were there?
Yeah, all the towns except Grafton.
Yeah. And there is talk about other towns joining.
Yes.
Like-
Oh, yeah. So there are talks about other 2 towns, Upton and Sturbridge, joining, which.
And we don't know what that does, but like, it's not like, we don't know yet if you're gonna get more hours because they're joining, or we'll have to divide the hours slightly differently, or.
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
That's
yeah.
probably more someone else's.
Yeah, that's gonna be probably more so someone else's. I was talking to Connor a little bit about that briefly, and he said if that's the case, maybe like getting someone in or something like that if there are more towns joining. But that's like I think for their fiscal year 2025.
Right.
So
So a few months away from that.
yeah.
And then you're looking at potentially turning the housing plan into a storyboard?
Yeah,
as
like a story
consumer-
map, exactly.
Consumer engagement, I'm too much in work mode. And,
Yes.
Town and resident engagement?
Exactly. So a story map situation. I think Mendon did it with their town plan, and that looked amazing. So I was like, oh my god, I've done story maps before. Why not do it with the housing production plan? And then I'm also thinking of doing like a 1-page like brochure to include in the town offices, and maybe if there are residents that are interested in getting one, mailing them out so they're a little bit more aware of it. And I do know that Grafton ended up stating their concern about kind of having like a affordable housing trust like guidebook. Maybe I might ask.
Brewster has a good example of, I think, what they're
Brewster.
talking about.
Yeah.
Get Brewster.
Okay, so more so like maybe we can maybe create one also for like Berlin if a
Right.
new town wants to join, a new member wants to join. So that's pretty much it for my
Yeah.
updates.
Okay.
Yeah, the storyboard for us makes because we're the furthest along in the housing production plan.
I'm so excited.
Well,
All the others are like, help us put it together. I'm like, oh, that's great. We've already done that now.
the Center Village study that Carrie did is on a storyboard format,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it really appeals. I mean, it's
Yeah.
easy to
Exactly.
make use of, right? So it'd be
Yeah.
great to do that with this because it's a lot more user friendly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot more user friendly, and then also like just kind of sending out like that 1-page brochure to people
Yeah.
who want it will also help out with like the public outreach. Yeah, maybe do a little like workshop, like story map thing, presentation, maybe once that's done and the state approves it and we get that all rolling. I don't know, just shooting out ideas.
For the website, do you want to have access to the website? Because we can talk to Dee about that. I currently have been putting the things that are up there, I've put up there, I have access to it.
Okay.
But we can probably get you access to it if you want to put things up
That'd
there.
be perfect.
Otherwise, I can put content. But if
Okay.
you want to do it, I'm more than happy to let you. It's not the most user-friendly thing in the whole entire
Okay, or
world.
maybe we can work through it together.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Okay, so I'll talk to Dee about that.
Did they make their updates? Were they working on it? Did you
We-
say
there-
last meeting?
There is a, I don't know, volunteer or paid person, but who's working on an overhaul of it. We're probably talking months, not days or weeks,
Okay.
because they're really looking at sort of a root overhaul, not just a new skim or a couple new colors or a couple
Yeah.
things like that.
The problem is you're working with a templated system.
Yeah, yeah.
So there is a limit to what
Yeah.
you can actually do with that.
And she's working with a vendor that has that template to understand sort of the limits and what can do it. And she is a
Yeah.
website designer, so.
But yeah, it could have been done better.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's with me.
Um, Potential updates on affordable housing for sale. I think we still just have the two up at Village Lane, and there really aren't any updates that we would give here on those. I don't think, nothing's gone forward yet. Do you have any other updates you'd want to give?
Besides that, that's it. I know, what is it? Shrewsbury was interested in how we're gonna do the CPA funding here so that they can maybe kind of work through that. But besides that, really nothing else for updates. A lot of the towns did end up mentioning that they want to increase the public engagement aspect of it with residents, and I've just been thinking of creative ideas to do so. So, yeah, I think a lot of the 5 towns have voiced similar concerns. Yeah.
Yeah, even though we're sometimes quite different towns. Because when they're talking about a RFP for a low affordable housing project, their affordable projects are probably significantly bigger than
Yeah.
the project that we're ever going to do in this town. So that's why I thought it was funny that, I think it was at Auburn, or one of them was asking like, oh, when you do the CPA thing, when you do an RFP for that, can we see what that RFP is like? And I'm like, I think an RFP is going to be really very
Shrewsbury,
different than,
yeah.
Shrewsbury,
Shrewsbury
right,
was
very different than something that Shrewsbury's going to do.
Shrewsbury was
You
saying
just add a
that.
bunch of zeros to all of our numbers.
And then
you just take it away.
if I'm not mistaken, I think Grafton. I mean, I'm just shooting numbers.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think Grafton is also struggling with. They have CPA funding, but they don't really know how to use it and what to do with
Yeah.
it and everything like that. And theirs is gonna expire as well. So.
And you don't know how to use it, you just have to ask for it, and then it starts happening.
Well, they're more like, okay, we have the funding, and then like, what are we gonna do? Buy land and
Yep.
kind of go this route, or what are we doing?
Yeah, I also did a poor job of explaining our project to the select board, and so I'll try again next time, that the idea that we do an RFP for a development project on a small piece of land where the potential owners would do some sweat equity to sort of earn the house in addition to sort of paying a mortgage. And trying very hard not to, like, we're going to do an RFP, and any nonprofit or for-profit that wants to follow that model can. We might have one we like, but we'll still have to do an RFP for it. But
Okay. So that's the big thing on the agenda,
Yep.
is to work on the CPA draft
Yep.
tonight, or you can get a sense.
Yep.
I'm happy to put it together, or whatever,
Mhm.
Jasifa or whoever. I started sort of filling things in. But I know you had said, talked about 200K for Habitat. I wasn't quite sure where, I mean, I suspect there's going to be, if they find a piece of property, there would be
Right.
legal funds
Yep.
to transfer it and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But I wasn't sure where this number actually came from, what your thoughts were.
I thought that when she presented to us, she said between 150 and 200 is about what the town would have to put in to make a project work.
Okay.
And so I think it is for the, purchase and related costs of purchase of a property that would be developed by someone and sold to a person for affordable rates.
Okay.
And I think at this point, I mean, because of deadlines, I think it is going to be a little vague at this point, but hoping that by the time it gets to town meeting, we might actually have a developer in mind. We might even have a property that sort of works. But that that because CPA funding takes a town meeting and the deadline is soon to get that process started now, made sense. Because I think it's going to, even if like things go smoothly, we're probably 2 years before the house is built, and we've not talked at Habitat about what properties might or might not work.
I do have a small update on that. Just Carolyn had reached out to me last Friday. There were a couple they couldn't find, and they had
Right.
asked for the map coordinates. I sent over
Yep.
the thing that you sent me, and she asked if we could do a field trip. I told her that I'd be happy to set that up with Tim or Carolyn to find the properties if they needed us to. I have not heard back from her yet,
Yep.
but that's sort of where that is. The other thing I was going to talk to, and you would know more whether, especially since our projects are going to be somewhat open-ended, and some of these things, like I have actually something here that I found about first-time home buyers doing grants to help with down payments for affordable housing, and Andover has this. So this is another potential something we can think about. But I'm wondering if, because our projects are sort of open-ended and long-term, if it makes sense to ask for a fund to be set aside that can be applied to specific items, such as a Habitat house. If we think this grant is a good idea, system is a good idea, this is another thing that could be, and then it would broaden out over time. But I don't know whether that is something that the CPA committee would, as long as there are defined parameters on the fund.
See, I think that's where the committee leans.
Okay.
As I've said before, Hudson CPA just turns over the entire sum, the 10% that's entitled to community development, to the housing trust.
Okay.
And the advice from the state steward, whatever, from the consortium, you know, he just says, well, why would you want to do that? How do you go back to town meeting and say, this is how the CPA money was used? How do you control that? How does town meeting feel comfortable with the use of the fund? So he said, I think it's advisable to really make things very transparent. So if you did a first-time homebuyer program and you said, we're gonna put, you know, $150,000 into that, and then you wanna support projects where a third party might very well use tax title land and you support the process to the greatest degree we could, then, you know, you put some money into that.
Yeah. I just was wondering specifically because, you know, it seems a lot to have all these different funds around, whether you would put that in a pool that was then applicable to those items.
I mean, you could present it that it would be used for both of those purposes, you know, and June might be happier with that. We could certainly say to June, you know, would you rather see two compartmentalized funds that you were drawing from? When you talked to Habitat and they said 200,000, is it, my sense when I talked to Habitat was if we had a piece of land
That they
there was
would-
tax title, and we said here, and so that cost was off the table, then some seed money from us might be, you know, $50,000 or something like that, and then they take care of materials and labor and all that.
Yep.
That's your impression?
That is
So-
my impression as well. I get the, like, because it's easier in some respects to ask for 200,000, have it to be a $50,000 project, and in theory turn $150,000 back than it is
Right.
to ask for 50,000, discover we need 75 and have to do another amendment at town meeting.
Well, that's why I was saying, yeah, because, so
And so
throwing 200,000 into
lets
that
us
pot.
even find a person who probably would sell their land at slightly lower than
Right.
market.
Yeah.
And someone stopped me on Halloween last night who was telling me about people in town he thought might be interested in doing something like that. Obviously, in a public way, I'm not dropping names of people who don't know that they're even being talked about. But I bet, you know, if there's somehow we're looking to build affordable housing on a lot about this size, you know, even our little networks, we might find someone like, oh, I own some land that I would carve off some for that because that makes sense for me.
Yeah, and if we're working with the commission on a cottage housing overlay, And it may very well be that we try to build in language there that says, you know, if you agree to build 2 affordable units and give us a third lot,
Right,
then we'll take that lot and turn that over to someone like Habitat.
right,
So the land cost disappears. And you argue you get another affordable unit out of it, so the builder is satisfied with
Mhm.
that sort of arrangement.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's some fun things that I think
Yep.
we could do. Yeah.
yeah, and
So I think we
Okay.
can, I think you're right. You can probably find landowners that are willing to say, here's a piece that I'll
Yep.
sell
Yep.
at
Yep.
reduced rate or give to the town, and we got some tax title pieces,
Yeah.
and we might be able to do some other options, so.
Right,
yeah.
and as you point out, there could be developers that are willing to want to build stuff and to get a variance, they're willing to give some land if they knew it was gonna be an affordable housing developed by somebody else, and they don't have to worry about that part of it.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, what I noticed with the tax title list, a lot of it appears to be landlocked or
Mhm.
behind. If we could maybe maneuver with an abutter
Target
for
the butters,
an easement
that type of-
to, or some situation to grant access for the purpose of affordable housing. I don't know if that sits with the planning or the
Yeah, I think
zoning.
that- I mean, there may be 3 parcels that are usable as is. When I
Yeah.
looked at the list years ago, when Dennis was, you
Mhm.
know, taking some pieces in, and I think Carolyn was probably there because we were trying to figure out what pieces made most sense to go to conservation and what pieces
Mhm.
should be left open, and those are still there. So I think there's a couple that you could jump on
Yeah.
relatively soon.
And I think for right now, we would be looking at the low-hanging fruit that we
Right.
could get, and
Yep.
I'm interested to see what Habitat comes up back with,
Yep.
so that we know where we are with that. But for the CPA funding, what are your thoughts on something like this? Because this was another thing, part of the reason I had noted this when we
Mhm.
did the training. This is something we could implement relatively quickly because there is a model.
Mhm.
The one thing we'd be looking for is some sort of nonprofit in our area to manage,
Mhm.
because they farm out who manages that.
Mhm.
But it's got really detailed criteria, and it seems like it might be an easy one for us to hit if it is of interest.
Do any of the, like, do any of the regional housing boards,
Yeah.
authorities, whatever that we work with, do any of this sort of work?
I don't know.
No.
That would be step one. But what I would do, because we
Yeah.
need to get the CPA thing in
Yeah.
now,
Yep.
this would be going after preservation.
Mhm.
Habitat would be going after creation. So we would have something in
Yeah.
both buckets
Mhm.
of our mission if this was of interest. Because I know we had
Right.
talked about a variety of grants and stuff. This one I know for sure falls
Yeah.
under CPA
Yep.
because Andover is doing it and has the model for us. And
What
I.
goes around comes around. I have actually administered a program like this in my past.
Oh, fabulous. Fabulous.
Great.
Inner city Minneapolis.
So
Huh?
you would know sort of what we were
Yeah.
looking at.
Yeah,
I'm
this looks
suspecting
exactly-
there is
very close to what we did at the
Mm-hmm.
time, and, I mean, numbers have all changed, but.
a nonprofit that would step in and keep track
Right.
of this for us.
And so if we did CPA, if we asked for like 110,000 for this, thinking that 10,000 is, 10% is like admin fees for whoever's managing it, because they're not gonna do it for nothing.
Yeah.
And then we asked for 100,000 for the other one, knowing that we actually have 2 or 3 other pools that we could add to it. So if the Habitat, we couldn't get them tax tied, we had to throw a few dollars, we could throw some of the few dollars into it. I think once this structure exists, there's a chance we could go back to future town meetings to go, can we put another 50,000 into this
Yeah,
for 5
and
Here-
that's,
here's what we
that's
have
what I
done
would
so
be
far with
looking
the
for.
money. Yeah.
I think we should create a pool
Right.
that we can apply to different things,
Yep.
and we get permission for those different things.
Right.
If we're gonna work with Habitat,
Yep.
it is approved by town meeting.
Yep.
If we're gonna do this grant program, it is approved by town meeting, and we have asked for that permission, and it is something that is ongoing for
Mhm.
us, because it's not like these things are just going to be one-time things and then shut off.
Right.
We're going to add things, would be my guess, over time, if we can and have the funds, rather than,
Well, I'd still keep these as separate pools. I think at separate pools, I think they have a better shot at town meeting when we're not trying, because I think the people at town meeting would worry that we would then siphon the money into something else and it was a pool that Housing Trust could just do. I think we did an article that is a down payment program and an article that is
Yeah.
a Habitat house. I
It
think
might
that
be
would
an
go
easier
better.
sell though, because the money is just sitting there.
It
It's
is.
unused
It's
unless it's
unused.
delegated to
And if we
this
can-
The
trust.
CCA fund is not all unused, because to do
Well-
200,000, we're past the amount of money that's just housing, we're now into the general pool, which I'm happy to tap into, because I think it should not all
Go to.
just go to conservation.
But we
Even
can
though I vote in
also,
favor
you
of all of
know,
those.
we limit the
Right.
number of these grants we do in a year, or we
Right.
limit
Yep.
that sort of thing based on the funds that we have.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on a separate pool as opposed to one pool where we designate? Do you have thoughts on that?
I think having one gives us more flexibility.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yes. I worry some about if we say down payment program and habitat program and both of those fizzle out, I would think about labeling it, you know, for the preservation of housing by implementing a program, figuring out how to not lock ourselves into doing.
That's sort of
The
my thought
program?
is we add to that language over time, that we
Start
add
off
to that,
with-
but we start off with these two things, and they may fizzle this year. It may not work. But I think, to Scott's, I think that we need to have labels.
Do we
Some
need
sort
to
of
define
labels.
it more than
More than
preservation,
just-
creation? Into the separate categories?
Well, I personally think one category with some specificity to it, where we say these are the things that can be done with this money at this point. It is our intent over time to potentially add to these things.
If you pitch it to CPA as one fund for these dual purposes, and as a fixed amount, and CPA and other feedback you get says to you, maybe you ought to split it, you can
We can
do
always
that,
split it.
because the dollar amount that you're gonna be after isn't gonna change.
Mhm.
It's just that you're gonna have 2 articles on the warrant instead of 1. So
Yeah.
shoot that way and see what happens, because then you'll get the additional feedback from the CPA committee.
Mhm.
And you'll have a chance to chat with some other folks in the interim. I mean, we don't have to package
Okay.
this.
Yep.
It's just that CPA wants to know what the target dollar
Yep.
is, because all of a
Okay.
sudden, instead of having one project,
Right.
we've got 5, and suddenly people are looking for $800,000 this cycle instead of, 300.
Have you seen the request from the schools? $4 million for capital for the schools.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know where, I don't know if they think they're going through CPA for it, but that was their starting point.
How could, what are,
So.
I'm not, yeah.
We've
I'm
done
not
it.
even- Yeah.
Well, I've already been done.
Yep.
I would be fine, you're right, that our goal is to meet the sort of yesterday or today timeline to get the request in. We already were planning on adding more specificity going on, and if, you're right, we could start with 1, if feedback is, and specificity turns out it turns into 2, we would at least met the deadline, and we have 3 months to get to something that is.
Because we're not
Yeah,
gonna be
and
doing
if we-
anything unless we get.
Right, right.
Some
right,
money.
right.
Yeah,
a
and
warrant
if
on
we
the
stick to
thing,
these
so-
two things to start, then people know where our heads are and where we're
Yeah.
thinking, and we can
I feel like we
receive
could do
feedback.
this without CPA funds. I think it's better because other towns have funded CPA funds. I think the CPA
Yeah.
fund's getting it going. I think
there
getting
are
our
other
first
things
budget in
that-
front of the voters, even if we
Yeah.
didn't have to, is just better for us as well. So.
And there are other things that we can't do with
Right,
CPA
right,
funds,
yeah.
that those
Right.
other funds
Yeah.
might be better
Yeah.
suited for.
Yep. I
Like
agree.
this is more feasible in terms of like we already know that Andover's done
Yep.
it with
We
CPA.
know
that
this falls
like,
under-
It's gonna be kind of like
Yep.
a safe track to go
Yep.
towards.
Yep.
And then I agree. And then just adding it in terms of like, okay, maybe having like a
Yeah.
subcategory of, yeah, that's, and then maybe like setting some verbiage in there would be like, yeah,
Okay.
that could work.
We need some data on, like average cost of an affordable house in Berlin? Like what down payment assistance might look like? What does $100,000 get us in terms of how many people
Well,
potentially could we help?
we would put a limit, like I believe they put a $10,000
$10,000,
limit on what that grant would be. So we wouldn't, I
So
mean.
this, I haven't read, this is a
We
grant?
could go
Yeah.
up, down, it is
This is
a,
a grant.
This
it's
is a
a
grant,
grant, but it's a grant that is staggered. So if you move within the first 5 years, then that grant has
Yeah.
to be paid back.
Got
And then
it, I see.
it staggers out by a percentage each year, which I thought was a really nice way to approach it.
Yeah.
We put liens on the properties
Yeah.
and then remove the lien
And then
when it was
remove the
done.
liens when it's
That
done.
guarantees that they, because you lose track of people
Yeah.
if they sell it.
For sure.
And that's one of the things, I thought this was, my initial thought was this was really well
Yeah.
thought out and sort of packaged already.
How does this work? I assume this has already been through vetting in terms of, we know the 40B process is, and the mortgage process in general is super picky about the source of the down payment.
We'll go talk to Andover. I didn't want to do anything.
Okay.
First of all,
Right.
Yeah.
I only had time today to sort of dig into
Yep.
this and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
found that.
is
So, we'll go talk to Andover about the specifics because most of the time these folks are really, everybody is happy to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I like the income, obviously there's that income limit
Right.
right there, so
Yeah,
that's
the
gonna
things they buy
put the
all.
40B threshold already in there.
Yeah.
So that'll be perfect, yeah.
We should
I don't
see
know
about
what-
getting this online.
And again, of course, you've got the resources, Stephanie, and I don't know, have you had a chance to chat with Stephanie from the Metro West Collaborative?
No, I did not.
But I mean, that would be
Yeah.
Reach out to
some
Stephanie.
high on your list,
Yeah.
probably, just
Okay.
because understanding the toolkit that they have and the options of available support that they could offer, because
Right.
we're paying the passive housing consortium, you know, our
Right.
quarterly dues, we just paid
Yeah.
that bill the other day.
I'll do that
So-
tonight.
Right, and I think they're the ideal
Okay.
persons
Yeah.
to, I mean, I
And
think
she's
they
met
get
with
with
you
an
guys.
RFP, but I think they're the ones who likely
Yeah, she
would
was
do it.
great.
Yeah, because if they could do it, that would be awesome. It would be really nice to have all of those pieces nailed down to a town meeting when people start
Yeah.
getting nitty gritty. We can be like,
Yeah. Okay.
And so, yeah, so 200,000 for down payment, grant assistance, and the development of affordable housing in town. And we could even call it, to start off with, an affordable housing demonstration project. You know, can the town do a single family with a developer of something that's affordable? And I think it is, we have what, and associated fees. I'm trying to think of all the things that go wrong with warrant articles when they ultimately get together. We have times to word it,
Yeah.
but we go later on like, oh, we forgot the legal fees. Oh, we can't like pay an admin
No,
portion of
I
it.
mean,
Oh, we can't pay the filing
associated
fees.
fees,
Yep.
any consulting
Yep.
fees, any yada, yada, yada,
Yep.
yada. There's language, I'm sure there's language we can steal. Okay.
I think we'd make sure that it, I would use affordable and not 40B.
Mm-hmm.
affordable.
I don't
think-
write
right, I-
that anywhere. I don't write 40B, I write affordable.
Right, right. Just because I don't think we're building a 40B
Affordable.
unit. I think we're building
Yeah.
something that is affordable. So it's in that range of working adults that don't qualify for 40B, but also can't afford the new $1 million mansions that go into town.
Okay.
You gonna be able to
So-
write that up? Okay.
It's not, it's short.
Yeah,
You guys have been
Especially-
very demanding on that.
Yeah.
right, because
On the
again, it's the
application,
early
it's
part
First
of it.
round's pretty simple.
Right.
It's just giving us
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
threshold, and
Yeah.
then we start throwing some questions at you,
Yeah.
and you already know what a lot of the questions are anyway, and we flush out the details so it gets reflected in the
Yeah.
warrant article clearly.
Yeah.
Are we still kind of leaning towards the Habitat for Humanity with this first sort of lead?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I mean,
They
I
seemed
think
really
there's-
excited and eager.
Right, I think the only reason I don't, the only reason I'm hesitant is that I really want to make sure that sort of it becomes an open process. I don't know if anyone else is out there doing something that has sweat equity programs, but if there's someone else doing it, I'd want them to have an equal shot at it. But I think once we have the money, we would,
So that's
Ask for a
kind of
developer.
how it would be worded as it.
yeah, it would be, I would like to word it as a sweat equity, but I think that's what sets both Habitat apart, but I
Okay.
think that
Exactly.
also makes it, for some reason.
Really
it makes it
warm
a-
and fuzzy.
It makes it warm and fuzzy. It makes it
Yeah.
a Berlin project. We like people who are willing to
Yeah.
do some of this
Yeah.
stuff at the time. It shows their commitment to the town. It shows them commitment to the project,
Good.
the person buying it. I think that type of thing
So,
would make it work better
I
at town
could
meeting.
write something like Habitat for Humanity or similar.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
sweat equity
Yes.
partner.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows also
Yeah, yeah.
knows
Exactly.
Habitat.
Right,
When you
that's
say
it. Right,
Habitat,
right,
people
yeah.
know
Yeah.
what you're
That's what we
talking about.
talked about last time, is the
Yep.
goodwill of Habitat for Humanity makes it very approachable, sellable,
Yep.
Kinda
and
like
known.
Kind of like an umbrella situation.
So we think 200,000 is the number?
I think,
I think 200,000 is the
Until
number.
proven
Okay.
otherwise?
Yeah.
Okay.
right.
I also think it's real because I thought we had like 170 or
I can't-
180
I can't
just
remember
housing.
what the
And
numbers
so
are. I
if
have
we're
them
asking for
somewhere.
10 or 15,000 from the general pool, that's not bringing the general pool from too many other projects out there.
Yeah,
So,
you're fine.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think too, the point is too with all of this, it doesn't do anybody any good when it's sitting there.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's
And
let's
the
start.
Metro West seminar, the one thing that my takeaway was that we need to request this money to actually be nimble and do anything
Yeah.
with it. There's no point in having a trust without
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
actually access to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of like approaching both programs at the same time. Yeah.
So we can't really flesh this out over email.
Right.
I will put something together and send it out to you,
Yeah.
just so you have it.
And I think
But
we
we
have enough
can't,
where
you
we get
cannot
the-
give
And then
me
we can-
feedback.
Right.
What do you like
Because
to
that
make-
is violating open
Oh,
meeting law.
that is. Oh, that is.
If we discuss it, yeah.
As a group, if we discuss it, if individually.
Individually,
Individually.
it's not.
But
though.
it's also, I think we have enough.
We
when
have
we get
enough
to
time
the
where-
end,
yeah.
That the next meeting, we could flush out any questions we had, and I think we'd add the CPA committee questions to it at that point too.
Yeah.
Because we're technically scheduled, are we
Are we
meeting with
doing
the
the-
CPA on the 21st?
I think so, right?
That would be our
Is
next
that-
meeting.
Okay,
That's
so I need to set that if that's, I wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Kind of
That
a
makes-
joint meeting.
Where-
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Where
it's a
is
joint
this
meeting
happening?
anyway, so that gets good.
Here?
Or are we
But
just
I-
It
Or
was
is it virtual?
November 21st, it would be online with CPA.
Oh, that'd be online? Okay.
Can
Right?
someone
You
send
guys
me?
are doing your meetings online
We
on
stay at
Zoom?
home.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't go out very often.
Can someone
is
send me
good.
the Zoom
And are
link
you
or the link?
6 or
in-
7?
Yeah, it will be on my town government. I
Okay.
sent that
6
over to you,
p.m.
right?
Yes.
Okay, they will always be on my
7:30.
town government, and I will put up
7:30.
under us.
I
so
have mixed
we can-
Got it.
feelings of
Perfect.
6 o'clock, these 6 o'clock meetings, because
Hmm?
I go right from work to here,
Yeah.
but it also means that I have so much more time at the end of the night
Right.
to do
Right.
And then
things.
you're
so.
done.
Yeah, I always prefer getting everything done early if possible.
So yeah, we will need
Sounds
to
done.
look at that.
Yep.
Okay, done.
And I
hit
fizzle
the wall-
fast,
hit
starting
the
at
wall.
like,
It's dark.
yeah, it's
Fizzle time.
dark.
Oh my
It's really
goodness, yes.
time to be going to bed.
Oh, that does make a huge difference.
Um,
Okay.
all right,
So we won't be meeting on the 22nd if we're meeting on the 21st, right?
Okay.
Correct. It is in place of that meeting.
So are we gonna do a pre? Are we gonna chat it all before that? Probably not.
Yeah.
It's only 3 weeks.
Okay.
It's only 3 weeks and
Okay.
and I think we have the core of it down.
All good. Okay.
Because I don't think we need to have like, again, what is the qualification levels and other pieces by
Right.
that meeting.
If you would like, I can also assist with the
Good.
document.
Could you, I was gonna ask you,
Perfect.
this seems like the kind
Yeah,
of thing
exactly.
to.
Yeah.
And it was a PDF, which was annoying, but.
I will see if I can dig
if
up.
you
my
have a-
1990s
I can try to see if I can
documents.
convert it into
That would be
Word.
fun.
Yeah.
If you want to send me the PDF version, I'll
Yep.
try to
And I-
Google it up
I'll
tonight.
do.
and
'Cause I was
send-
really happy for the program.
Yeah.
And as we look at the website, this should be something that should be online.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because I was just
You
talking
know,
to her about if
like,
it's in a PDF, I can
The
try to
PDFs
convert
are
it into.
terrible.
Try to convert it
Online
into like a Word document,
Much more
maybe
secure.
tomorrow, and then
And
go
that's
from
the
there.
21st.
Yeah, so Maureen will get in touch with you and you can negotiate a time, because we're gonna meet with rec and open space that night too, so
Okay.
I think I'll tell her we wanna give, what do you want, half an hour?
Sure.
We'll give you half an hour until when they all get 10 minutes.
What-
Your discussion's a little broader and deeper because it's new.
It's
Right.
new.
You see
yeah.
them all the time.
Right,
Yeah.
open space are at our door all the time.
What time is your,
Do you need more chairs?
Meeting.
Jane?
7:30, and it's gonna be a Zoom one.
7:30, but we may tell you to come at like, 7:45 or something like that, just so we
Okay.
can open the meeting.
All right, and cancel the 21st. Or the
22nd,
22nd, sorry,
yeah.
cancel the
Yeah,
22nd.
Yeah.
Okay, and just as a thing for the next meeting, do you want to talk about, I know that you were interested in having a words, the short blurb that describes what we do.
Mission?
Mission statement. Mission statement.
We should make
Okay.
sure we have one.
Okay, so I did look and they tend to be very similar. So I will go through and grab some of the others off the other, but they tend to be very similar.
So I ended up doing an Upton
you did?
proposal thing where we ended up kind of putting a little blurb in on what affordable housing trust does and what's the plan and everything. So I can kind of share that little blurb that I
That'd
did
be super
and
useful.
Okay.
the little
Perfect.
bullet points that I added in, and these are some examples of what they do. Yeah, I can share that for sure.
Okay.
Our next meeting is scheduled for December
So-
27th.
Oh wow.
How does that work for people?
I'm like
I'm
here.
good. I'm here.
fine.
I don't know if everyone else is.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
You'll be my
Future.
slowest week at work. I'll actually have energy
Yeah.
by then. It'll be great.
Yeah,
I'm
Christmas on
assuming the
Monday,
meeting of the
that's
select board on Monday
fine.
will get canceled.
I'll be
Yeah.
here.
That
Yeah.
seems
Okay.
likely.
Really.
Okay.
All right, so
At
we're
least-
good.
at least we have
Good
the-
that.
Yeah.
And we've got time, like if
Right.
it
Yeah.
blows up, we can just reschedule the
Yep.
following week
Yeah.
like
Or
we
can
did
we
this week.
Yep.
do one via Zoom?
Yeah,
I mean, if
we can
people are
sometimes
away,
use
we
it.
can.
If people
Yeah.
are away, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, just throwing
Okay.
an idea there.
So we'll touch base on that
Okay,
again.
like after the
After the-
CPA meeting, we'll hang out for a few minutes and, except maybe
We're
we'll
on.
find our own little Zoom room after that to just,
Mm-hmm.
to post any sort of follow-up stuff.
Okay.
Great. Is that the agenda?
That's the agenda, yeah. And like I said, for the December,
Yep.
I was thinking mission statement
Yep.
and anything else that comes up from
Yep.
a
Yeah.
CPA funding
Yeah.
standpoint. I don't know if there's anything else, just send it over to me.
Yeah, I think every meeting from now until town meeting will be to continue to add more meat to the proposals, just see, at least to
Get
check
the-
in, like, are we ready to add a little bit more to it? Have we found a plot? Have we decided on a dollar amount for the grants? That'll work.
Perfect.
We're an efficient group. That's why I like this meeting.
I like this town.
Yeah.
In terms of the meeting, can I say
Yeah.
that? I don't know if I can say
I'll
that.
follow up with them about
Yeah.
how it's working for people who get
You
the
gonna talk
grants
to
and how
Andover?
the. Yeah, I'll talk to Andover. Do we have a person?
I didn't, like I
No.
said,
Is
I
this
just found it
downloaded?
today.
Oh, hey,
I
look,
just came
Angie
after.
Gill. I'll talk to her about how it works for people who actually get these and
Yep.
what that looks like in their mortgage process.
Perfect.
Why does her name sound so familiar?
'Cause
Because she's in the,
the world
housing
is-
world.
the world is-
No, the world is very incestuous as I put it.
Yes.
I'm gonna look at my email thing. But yeah, I can definitely try to see if I could convert this into a Word document and then get started on that too.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. Okay, if there is nothing else,
Can I keep
then
this?
vote to adjourn.
Can I keep this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Do I need to second that?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
That we're setting records here.